Hi and welcome to this new video, and in this video we're going to look at the funnel again, but I'm going to look at this from the point of view of a FPV flyer. So it would be quite unusual for an FPV flyer to fly a backwards funnel, but in the line of sight training I thought it'd be quite good to show you something that you may not have experienced before as a FPV flyer, which is flying a quad backwards and then turning that into a backwards funnel. It's a pretty cool maneuver to do. However, as an FPV flyer you've probably done something called an orbit before. Now an orbit, when you're flying FPV, is when you fly around an object like this. So you're just kind of flying around the cone, looking down at the cone. Now the reality is that as a maneuver that is actually a nose down funnel, but being flown FPV rather than being flown line of sight. So the stick inputs that you use to fly an orbit are exactly the same as the stick inputs you use to fly a nose down or front props down funnel. So given that most people probably already know how to kind of fly this kind of orbit around, because it's a very common thing to do, is to orbit around yourself sat in a chair or with your goggles on or whatever. As most people know how to do that maneuver FPV, then doing it line of sight is not too much of a stretch. It's actually a relatively straightforward thing to do, and it may be that you find it a lot easier to get into a front props down funnel than you do trying to fly it backwards, because flying backwards is, as I'm sure you've probably already found out by now, pretty difficult. So if we switch to line of sight mode by pressing F, let's just explore this. So when we do an orbit, let me just get the other side over here, so away from those hoop gates. Okay, so going into an orbit, it's basically exactly the same. You can see this is an orbit, looking at a single spot, and it's pretty much exactly the same as a nose down or props down funnel. Exactly the same maneuver, and you may find that doing this version of it is massively easier than doing the tail down version or the rear props down version of it, flying it backwards, because in order to do a backwards funnel you've got to be able to fly backwards. So there's a barrier to doing the maneuver right there, whereas all FPV flyers can already fly forwards. Most FPV flyers can do an orbit, so doing the line of sight version of it is basically just a line of sight orbit. It's exactly the same. Okay, so that's it for this video, but I just wanted to show you how you could achieve that same quite pretty maneuver line of sight, but as a variation on a maneuver that you probably already do FPV.